In a forest where bamboo bowed like polite dancers and the river curved like a silver ribbon, a young tiger walked with a confident tail. He liked to call himself the brave one, and sometimes the little ones copied him. They whispered that he walked like thunder. They said the thunder lived in his paws. The sun rose over the leaves and touched his stripes with warm fingers, and a soft breeze passed. He felt the day smile at him. He smiled back because he believed the morning sang his name. His heart beat with hope that sounded like footsteps on a drum he could not yet see. He hunted fish by the river and bounded over rocks to show his strength. He sniffed the paths where deer walked and left prints like neat stamps in the mud. He loved the echo of his roar as it rolled through the bamboo, which bent and shivered with a hush. The hush felt like respect, and respect tasted sweet. He lay on sun-warmed stones and listened to birds argue in bright voices. When he rose, the branches nodded in a line, like grandmothers approving a plan. He liked the way the forest moved around him. He liked that he could make it move more. One afternoon, when the sky was mountain blue, he heard a rumor floating like seed fluff. A crab told a turtle, who told a heron, who told a gecko, who told a civet. It began as a simple line, and then it wore small bells. At last it reached the tiger as he stretched in a circle of light. "There is a drum," the civet said. He was small and careful, and he called the tiger old friend, even though they were not old, and even though they were not friends. "It is a drum that does not speak. Whoever wakes it will be called the keeper of brave hearts." The civet's whiskers trembled. Many have tried. None have heard even a whisper. "Where is this drum?" the tiger asked. "At the gate of the old temple," the civet replied. "It hangs from a red beam, where vines have carved their own letters. The priest went away to study the wind. The gate stays, and the drum waits. No one can wake it." The tiger rose, and his tail drew a stripe through the dust. "If it waits for a voice, I will give it mine," he said. The civet bowed with a twitch of whiskers. "Be gentle, old friend," he said. "Gentleness lives in the heart of many drums." The tiger laughed. "I will be gentle, and then I will be great." He walked all the way to the temple before the shadows joined hands. The roof tiles glowed like sleeping embers. The gate was red, but faded, and lines of moss looked like old writing. Flowers climbed the posts, and their petals rubbed the wood like soft cloth. The drum hung from a crossbeam by a rope the color of smoke. Its skin was pale and smooth, as if a cloud had been stretched with care. A mallet rested nearby, wrapped in cloth like a baby sleeping. The place smelled of rain, even though the sky held no clouds. It felt like a room that remembers songs, even when no one sings. He touched the mallet with his nose. The cloth felt clean and cool. He tasted a hint of cedar and dust. He wanted the drum to bloom with sound and fill the night with waves. He lifted the mallet and waited for one breath, because something inside him asked for that breath. He imagined the bamboo bowing even lower. He imagined birds lowering their heads not from fear, but from awe. His shoulders squared, his heart knocked like a neighbor at a friendly door. He swung the mallet and gave the drum a clear strike. Silence came riding like a soft animal. It put its head in his lap and sighed. The tiger frowned, not with anger, but with the puzzled gentleness he did not know he owned. He struck again, lighter, and then again, heavier. The drum stayed still. He roared at it, which felt foolish as soon as the sound left his mouth. He touched the skin with his paws and felt the silken smooth surface. He breathed, and his breath was warm and a little shaky.
The wind stirred the vines, and leaves whispered like friends in a long line. Something quiet and important moved through the air. He could not name it. He could only feel it settle. A small macaque had followed him and now spoke from the gatepost. "Old friend, may I sit?" she asked. He nodded without turning. She sat and wrapped her tail around her ankles. She was not afraid of tigers who stared at drums. "Do you know why it is silent?" she asked. "Because it is stubborn," he said. She giggled and then grew serious, because the night asked for respect. "The drum keeps stories," she said. "It will not speak until someone asks a true question." He tilted his head. "What is a true question?" he whispered. "Something that opens a heart instead of closing a mouth," she said. They watched the moon lift its soft face and pour light on the gate. A moth landed on the rope, as gentle as a sigh. The temple seemed to breathe, or maybe it was their own breathing turning holy. The tiger did not strike again. He laid the mallet down and let the night settle on his whiskers like delicate rain. Sunlight was gone, yet a tender glow touched the wood, like a memory of morning. In that hush, his pride felt like a coat he could remove. He did not remove it, not yet, but he loosened a button near the collar, and the forest noticed.
The breeze stroked the leaves, and they made a sound like careful applause. His heart beat a slower rhythm, and it felt brave in a way he did not expect. Morning spread yellow water across the sky, and the tiger returned to the river to drink. Pebbles cooled his tongue. Shadows tasted like tea leaves. He did not speak of the drum to anyone, not even to the civet who waited in a thorn bush like a traveler watching for a cart. "Old friend," the civet called, "did the thunder of your paws awake the sleeping skin?" The tiger shook his head. That small motion felt like a gift. "It did not," he said. "It was silent, and so was I." The civet rubbed his face with both paws. "Silence can be a kind teacher," he murmured, "and let the thornbush keep its secrets." The tiger wandered through the forest and noticed many small things, which is a kind of listening. He noticed the way the bamboo tapped a little rhythm when the wind walked by. He noticed how ants drew black stitches across a torn leaf. He noticed two children from the village at the foot of a jackfruit tree, arguing softly about courage. Their words were gentle and bright. He climbed with ease and pushed down a fruit. The children squealed, not with fear, but with thanks. "Old friend," they said, because the civet's greeting had become the forest's safe greeting. "Your paws are ladders today." He felt pleasant heat rise inside his chest, and it did not turn into a roar. When the sun stole toward the west, he returned to the temple. The macaque waited with a basket of figs and the calm of someone who had decided to stay. She handed him a fig. He did not always accept gifts gracefully, but that day he took it with both paws. "I am the brave one," he said, "but I am not sure what bravery is." She nodded. "Courage is sometimes the art of keeping quiet when your mouth is full of thunder." He laughed, and the laugh did not bruise the air. He stood before the drum. He said, "I have a question." She sat very still. He asked, "What does the forest need? Not just today, but tomorrow and the day after." He lifted the mallet. He did not swing with pride. He swung with a prayer he did not know he could say. The mallet brushed the skin like a moth wing. Silence filled the space. But this silence felt alive, like an ear that could hear both far and near at once. He let his paw fall. He felt the quiet settle into his bones. It felt like a lantern with no flame that still gave light. He waited. He did not demand an answer. He allowed the question to breathe. A deer appeared at the gate with careful legs and nervous eyes. "Old friend," she said to the tiger, because the forest had chosen that greeting. "Hunters have set a line of traps near the waterfall. The line is braided with horsehair and iron. If we cross at the usual place, we will be caught." The tiger felt his chest tighten. He wanted to roar and rip the traps with his claws. He imagined the music of breaking things. He also remembered the silent drum and how it had placed a soft stone inside his heart. They went to the waterfall, where the air tasted like stone and sky. He smelled iron, like bitter rain. He saw the traps set in the shadow where the water never shared its warmth. He began to move forward, but the macaque touched his shoulder. "Listen," she said. He crouched and listened. He heard the water pounding numbers only a waterfall knows. He heard the small creak of a trap ready to spring. He heard the heartbeat of the deer who had brought them. He thought of how the drum had not spoken, and how that refusal had made space for these many voices. They found the line where the traps braided their invisible fence. The tiger placed his paw under the cord and lifted, while the macaque slid a stick to hold it up. They repeated that small duet again and again, pausing when wind shook the leaves, pausing when a bird shouted a warning, pausing when his own heart grew too loud. They worked until a safe path opened like a new stream. The deer tested it and turned with wet eyes. "I will teach the fawns to use this way," she said. He nodded. "Teach them to teach others," he answered, and the waterfall gave a secret smile.
The tiger felt very tired, the kind of tired that builds good sleep. He returned to the temple as evening wrapped the trees. He sat before the drum without touching the mallet. "Thank you for staying silent," he said. "I am learning the shape of your quiet." A light rain began. It drummed on leaves, and he smiled. "Rain has its own drum," he said. The macaque smiled back. "The forest keeps many drums," she replied. "Not all of them make noise." News of the safe path moved through the forest like tea through thirst. Old turtles told it at the river mouth, and new birds learned to sing it before their first flights. The civet said the tiger had risen like a bell and rung without sound. The tiger did not correct the civet's poetry because it left no bruises. He returned again and again to sit near the silent drum. He told it small questions. He told it the smallest ones most of all, because small questions do not frighten the heart. One morning, the village sent a child to the temple with a clay pot. She was brave in her own way, and her hair was tied with a red ribbon that had learned the skill of staying. "Old friend," she said, "my mother asked me to bring water for the flowers and to ask for help with something strange." He followed her to the edge of the fields where a new ditch had been dug. The ditch had stolen the frog's voice. Their song at dusk was gone, and the children missed it. He lay on the bank and listened. He heard the faint rasp of a frog under a clump of grass. He heard the ditch sucking water away from a shallow pool. "The frogs need a little island," he said. He pushed stones with his nose. He piled them into a circle and scratched a small channel with one careful claw. Water curled back into the pool and rose. The frogs lifted their heads and tried a note. The note wobbled like a newborn calf. It grew steadier. Soon the field filled with evening music. The child laughed and pressed her ribbon flat, as if learning how to hold joy steady. "Thank you," she whispered. "Old friend," he replied.
And the word tasted honest. That summer, the forest learned a new rhythm. It was not loud. It was not slow. It was a careful dance where questions stepped first and answers bowed after. The tiger still leaped when play asked for leaps, and he still hunted when hunger asked to be honored. He did those things with a tenderness that surprised him. Sunlight stroked the leaves each morning, and he noticed it in a way that ached, because noticing opens a deeper well. He did not fear the ache. He drank, and the water of attention cooled him. One afternoon, strangers came along the river in a long boat with a red stripe. They had nets that glittered like spider webs on a winter morning. They spoke to each other in quick words that tumbled. They set poles near the bank and hammered them deep. Fish scattered like coins spilled on a floor. The river did not like it, and its voice grew tight. The civet ran to find the tiger. "Old friend," he said, panting, "the river is wearing a frown." The tiger went to the bank and watched in silence. He felt the thunder in his paws, but this time he held it like a sleeping child. He walked to the temple and sat by the silent drum. He laid the mallet across his paws like a resting bird. "What does the forest need today?" he asked, "when strangers break the river's smile?" The answer did not come in words. It came as calm. The calm was not empty. It had weight, like a stone a child carries because it feels good in the hand. He rose with that weight and carried it to the bank. The macaque and the deer joined him. The child with the red ribbon joined him. They stood together on the shore and watched the boat sway in the river's slow breath. Instead of roaring, the tiger stepped onto a pale rock and lowered his head. He took water in his mouth and let it fall on the rock, again and again, until the rock darkened. The child understood first. She brought her clay pot and poured water onto the rock. The macaque fetched leaves and laid them in a pattern, as if writing a letter no one had taught her to write. The deer dipped her hooves and stood very still, so the river could measure her patience. The son understood what the mother sun had done.
The boatman asked, "What are you doing?" The child answered, "We are hearing the river. It says the poles hurt." The boatman had elder eyes that had learned to weigh. One climbed out and put his palm on the darkened rock. He closed his eyes. He felt the river's slow rush under the stone. He pulled one pole free. The others followed him. The river sighed. A heron unfolded itself like a careful map. The strangers moved their nets farther downstream where reeds could bear the weight. The tiger kept his calm until the last pole rose. Then he bowed his head to the river. The river did not speak, but its surface loosened, and a ring of light widened, as if someone had smiled underwater. That night, the tiger returned to the temple. He touched the drum with his forehead. "You have taught me to keep thunder in my paws until thunder becomes a song," he said. The macaque sat beside him. "You have taught me that even quiet can be brave," she whispered. They ate figs. They watched the moon greet the gate. They listened to the silence that was never empty, not once. The vines wrote their little shadows across the beam, and the shadows looked like careful words. In the weeks that followed, other troubles came. A windstorm shook the bamboo and left broken stalks across the paths. Ants lost their bridges. A baby porcupine trapped its quills in a thorn vine and cried with a small voice. The tiger walked slowly through these troubles and asked true questions before he moved. "What do you need, small one? Where does it hurt? Where would the wind like us to lift?" He learned to pull thorns without fear. He learned to sweep a path with a tail that did not mind dust. He learned that a soft voice can open a tight knot, and that a tight knot can teach a soft voice patience. One evening, the priest returned, thin as a reed and smiling like a warm cup. He had studied the wind for many days, and now he had come home. He found the tiger at the gate with the macaque, and he bowed. "Old friends," he said. They bowed back. "What have you learned from my silent drum?" he asked. The tiger thought, and then he spoke like a stream that has found its way around a rock. "I have learned that the space between sounds has its own music," he said. "I have learned that listening is a kind of building. I have learned that courage sometimes waits." The priest took the mallet and struck the drum once, so lightly it seemed a touch and not a strike. The drum made no sound. The priest smiled. "It sings by keeping still," he said, "so that our hearts can make the music they were designed to make." The macaque lifted her face. She let tears find their own paths, the way rain does on a window when wind is kind. The tiger felt his chest widen. He did not know a body could hold that much sky. "Will you share this place?" the priest asked. "Will you gather the forest when choice is a hard river?" The tiger nodded. "I will stand by the drum," he said, "and I will let questions walk first."
The priest hung a small bell near the drum. Its voice was fine as thread. "Ring this when you gather to decide," he said. "Let the bell open the room, and let the drum hold it. That way, speech will not leak away as noise." The tiger nudged the bell, and it gave a small silver blink in the air. Creatures came, one by one when they heard. The deer, the civet, the heron, the child, the turtles, the porcupine with freed quills. They made a circle and sat. The tiger did not sit in the center. He sat to the side, where he could see every face and feel the river's breath. They told the week's troubles and the week's joys. They spoke of fruit ripening too fast and of a snake who wanted to live near the school. They spoke of a bridge that wobbled and a flower that needed bees. They spoke in gentle tones with pauses that tasted like clean water. When someone grew hot, the bell rang, soft and honest, and the hot words cooled as steam cools over a leaf. They chose together. They moved together. They learned that a circle can be a drum, too, if the hands that rest on its skin belong to friends. Autumn tipped the leaves with copper. The river ran clear and light. The tiger woke one dawn and felt a new hush. It did not come from fear. It came from a bright knowing that feels like walking into a room where every friend is already seated, waiting, smiling. He went to the temple. He touched the drum with his cheek. "Thank you," he whispered. He heard no reply, because replies were not its business, and because sometimes gratitude is its own song, and that is enough. A soft breeze passed. Sunlight stroked the leaves. His heart beat with hope, not because he needed to be louder than anyone else, but because silence had given him a steadier rhythm. He walked toward the river with the bell's faint memory in his ears and the drum's quiet courage in his paws. The forest breathed with him, and the day smiled again.